And now also from Washington, we do have Professor Louis Caldera, and Professor Caldera is a former U.S. Secretary of the Army and is a distinguished adjunct professor of law at the American University, and he joins us now. Prof.
Hello, it's good to be with you.
Thank you very much for your time. Obviously, given your background in the U.S. government, the issue of trade there, we had also the issue of trade with China, but also they touched, both candidates touched on the issue of Russia and the relationship with Putin. What do you think going into this election is American people are looking for, particularly in relations to fraternal relations with other countries?
Well, it is often said that foreign policy is not something that drives elections, that people primarily are interested in pocketbook issues. How is this election going to affect me? However, I think this is different because I think Trump has been as chaotic, undisciplined, and on the world stage as he has been on the domestic stage. And he has really, in the eyes of many Americans, myself included, really harmed the U.S.'s standing in the world. And so let's break that down, what that means. So first of all, on issues like national security, he's walked away from our allies, in many cases insulted our allies, questioned whether we should be part of NATO. At one point, it is said that he wanted to get out of NATO and was only reluctantly talked out of that. He has sided with authoritarians like Putin and Kim Jong-un and praised Duterte in the Philippines and others. When the U.S. used to stand for the spread of democracy, for human rights, for the respect for the rule of law, and for trying to promote stability and security in the world by addressing global problems, whether those global problems were genocide or climate change or regional tensions, to try to be a positive force in the world. Trump has taken a completely different approach. You know, his America First has been bully our allies, try to make them pay more of their, spend more themselves on defense, and question whether we should have these relationships. So that's why over 500 retired general officers, admirals from the Navy, and senior defense officials, such as myself, endorsed Joe Biden. And those were Republicans, Democrats, independents, people who said he's not fit to be commander-in-chief. He actually makes U.S. security more dangerous. And then on issues like trade, you know, he started trade wars that have hurt farmers terribly, have hurt the manufacturing sector, and then he's trying to work out deals with China. Maybe they should help him on his election, with Mexico, trying to badger them into agreements to make himself look good. Everything is about selling. Everything is about making himself look good and not about the substance, who it hurts among the American people, or whether ultimately those deals help the American people.
And Professor Caldera,
so this has upset everyone, you know, and so I think it is relevant.
Now, Professor Caldera, obviously Americans have bigger problems in terms of their economy, and the point that keeps coming across is that while these issues and these topics may be important in terms of trade relations with other countries or Trump's relationship with Russia and also his stance on China and someone like Kim Jong-un, but given the pressing issues domestically in the United States, do you think that those issues are likely to hurt him going into these elections, or are Americans more inward-looking when it comes to those, when it comes to their own survival?
Well, it does hurt him among national security voters. So veterans, people who have someone who's serving in the military, people who care more. It may be more of the educated elite, upper middle class who care a lot about international relations. You know, one of the challenges has been that we've had a global order in where the U.S. led. We built these international institutions that were about promoting free and fair trade, about making the world a smaller place, having more exchanges and interdependency with the world. And now Trump is backing away from that, and he's questioning it by saying, well, it costs us a lot on jobs. But that's always true. That is that the nature of the economy changes. It's moved toward more of a service economy. And what Joe Biden is saying is the next big economy is really going to be a clean energy economy. So the U.S. should lead in trying to develop a clean energy economy rather than trying to reclaim industries like manufacturing that are really based on low wages. Because the U.S. can't compete on having the lowest wages in the world. It has to compete on higher value added through education, technology, innovation.
Professor Caldera, before I let you go, just one last question, and very quickly, what do you make and how were these comments received where President Trump referred to some members of the military, those who serve as suckers and losers?
Well, it harmed him deeply. That's the way this president speaks, and people know that he criticized severely John McCain, a Vietnam-era war hero who was shot down. He went into enemy territory and was shot down. They were trying to kill him, and yet he said that he didn't care for him because he was a prisoner of war, and he thought that someone who got captured in a war was a loser. That kind of talk completely alienates those who served in the military, because it tells you that he has no understanding of why someone would choose to serve their country in uniform, would sacrifice, would believe that our nation was worth dying for, fighting and dying for, because that's not how he behaves. He only thinks transactionally. What's in it for me? How do I benefit? How do I enrich myself? And he's always selling, and I think people are tired of the salesmanship, the division of people, supporting white supremacists over the increasingly diverse nation that is the United States, including African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, Muslims, people of all kinds of backgrounds. We need a president who's going to unify us. That's what Joe Biden offers. So I think those kinds of comments really hurt him, and that's why he's behind at this point in the election. And I think people are seeing that no country can succeed based on division. We need a unifier, and that's what Joe Biden will.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Louis Caldera, and thank you for those insights. That was Professor Louis Caldera coming out from Washington, and he is, of course, a former United States Secretary of the Army. And there's still more coming in terms of the reaction.